I said I was gonna go get ready to do the podcast, like, because I'm wearing the workout clothes that I put on at 8 o'clock this morning
To go grocery shop.
to go grocery shopping, and ultimately the theory was that I would leave the house at some other point and get some exercise, but I did not, and I am just gonna be the way I am, unshowered, unchanged. It's been it's been a busy day. It's been a busy week, as always.
Yeah, it
As
really
always.
has,
But
hasn't
this
it?
has been to the extreme.
Boy, sure has.
I think you had to learn like 80 or 90 songs for this week.
Yeah. It doesn't help that having done songs before often does not help me.
Yeah.
Because some of the songs we were doing a year ago, but a song that I did a year ago, I may as well have never learned that song ever.
Your brain is really efficient at clearing out.
I
for
just,
new
as soon
space.
as I don't need a song, it's gone, man.
Yeah.
And that's just years of practice of doing that. Like, if I don't need to think about a piece of music anymore, it's just like,
Throw that thing away.
yeah. So yeah, quite a week. So let's talk those gigs that we were doing, gigs in rehearsal that we were doing all those songs with. The first one was a duo gig, which I think we talked about last week.
Yeah, we talked about it coming up.
Yeah, yeah.
And it went fine.
Perfectly
You know?
fine.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, it was at a country club in their little restaurant bar area. And I was very surprised that the bar manager told us, restaurant manager, very, very nice young lady named Ashley, and she said that people had been raving to her on their way out about us, which was surprising because we could not discern any attention from anyone, and it was like,
I know, we were in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
And like, I think the closest table to us was like 3 tables away.
Right.
Like halfway across the room. And there were only 3 or 4 tables of people.
There were not a lot of people
the
there.
entire night.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There was one older lady who was kind of nodding her head at points, and I was like, oh, okay, so she at least hears it, at least in the background.
Yeah. And there were like 3 or 4 little girls in one family that came up and just like hung out and watched.
It's always funny to me how little girls react to watching you sing. They are just like, they just look in their eyes, like they just don't know what they're just like, I don't know what it is. But, yeah, so the duo gig went just fine. We relaxed and had fun, and
Yeah. Just something different.
they fed us, and, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, the big drawback to those gigs is right now all of the gear that we need for those gigs is in the studio.
Right.
So we kind of have to disassemble a studio a bit. So it makes our day a lot longer than it would be if we could just pick up stuff from here. So when I did a deep clean of all the studios this weekend, and I brought home the tower.
Right.
So, and we have a mixer we might be able to use. So we might be able to leave directly from home instead of having to go to the studio, get a bunch of stuff, go to the gig, go back to the studio, put the PA back together in the studio, and then go home because it's tiring.
It made the day a lot longer. I certainly don't mind playing 5:30 to 8:30 though. That's a decent gig.
We're getting old. We're like, when's the blue plate special?
Yeah.
Do they start selling the chicken livers at 4:30 p.m.?
I get part of it. Some of it is I just have I was talking to somebody about doing some 4-hour gigs, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do them anymore. Part of me is just like, past a certain point, I get bored. Mm-hmm. And I just can't, you know.
Yeah.
11 is about where I'm like, okay.
Me too.
I can't.
My brain shuts down. Yeah.
And in some ways, my brain doesn't really shut down, but it's like I'm done doing rote things.
Yeah.
Like, anyway.
Right, you wake up at that time of night.
At least creatively, you know? That's when I want to do my thinking, and if I've got to just play cover songs, I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And then we had Cody's first Christmas gig of the year, and that was fun.
That's Stargazers.
Stargazers in Colorado Springs, and we have to thank John and his wife for having us down there. Weird. I would say it was a little bit of a weird gig in some ways.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to talk bad about anybody, but
But I'm going to talk bad about somebody.
yeah, the sound was, yeah.
I have never had this happen in my life, but I brought my own microphone, as singers do.
Mm-hmm.
That's a normal singer thing to do. Like guitarists bring guitars, singers bring microphones.
I would say most of the time.
Yeah.
Especially lead singers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I took out the Shure 58 Beta that the sound guy had put in because I don't like Shures. I don't like how I sound on Shures.
Yeah.
Even the Betas. And I put my microphone in. It's a Sennheiser E85, I think. 835.
835, sorry.
835, which is not an expensive mic, but it's a lot nicer than a Shure, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he walked up to it a minute later, and he was like, I hate these microphones. And he just, like, started swapping it out. And I was like, well, I hate Shures.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, if you're going to mix, then you can have a say in this. But otherwise, I'm going to swap this out. Is that okay? Thank you.
Yeah.
I was dumbfounded.
It was...
It was so rude.
Yeah.
And it was, I wanted to say, what, you want to approve my bass rig too? Like, does this meet your approval? Like, what the?
Yeah.
That's my instrument.
Yeah.
You just took my instrument and swapped it out for something else that I don't like.
Yeah.
And it was, it made me so mad. So I had to just hold my tongue all night and because I was just simmering.
Yeah, that particular guy is generally very rude. It's pretty, yeah.
Yeah, and then so I needed some bass in my monitor because the way that I was hearing myself in the room was just all muffled and thumpy.
Yeah.
Even though I had my mids turned up a lot and I had my highs turned up a lot. And so he gave me some bass in my monitor, but all he gave me was like the top crunch. So then all I could hear was my string noise. I could literally hear the sound of my fingerprint moving across the string.
Which must mean it was compressed and EQ'd quite a lot. I mean, you can't guarantee that, but like...
Whatever.
Anyway.
So that made me really self-conscious about playing because I was hearing every single little noise.
Yeah.
So then I went and started changing some settings on my bass amp because I was like, well, if he's going to be giving me that much crunch, I'm going to take some out of the top because I can't handle this. And then he was like, what are you doing? Are you changing the EQ on your bass amp? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, well, I just don't like how it sounds. And then he's like, well, you're totally ruining the sound that I've EQ'd for you here. So now I got to put a DI in your amp. And so he wanted to take a pre-EQ feed from my amp so that I couldn't change the EQ that he had set for me in the room.
Right.
And I was just like, okay, no one's ever done that, but okay.
It's rare, but there are those very tweaky sound guys who feel like they are the only reason anything's even okay.
Yeah.
And they tend to really heavily over EQ and use tons of effects. Mm-hmm. And I snuck out during some of Cody's solo stuff, and the amount of delay and reverb and stuff was pretty ridiculous. I'm surprised no one complained because it was like... Because, Cody's doing that pop classical stuff.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't even say pop classical. Some of it's Ave Maria and whatever. And he's got just this beautiful, powerful voice. And you want that stuff to sound natural. It's not like a pop concert where you've got like delayed trails and Ave Maria, like it's just not what you're, So yeah, it was pretty, and my guitar sounded unbelievably bad. At least in the monitors. I don't really know what it was like out front. It was probably okay.
I heard a couple people say we sounded amazing. So,
yeah,
I mean,
it was just
audience members. So
I had trouble playing because, like, it was really boomy, and then my guitar sounded terrible. And then a friend of ours was there and was like, "Hey, you should play next time you do that Prince solo. You should kick on a little more distortion." And I was like, "Dude, I was changing my sound so much to just make it like." Mm-hmm.
Because you were getting a lot of ground noise, right?
Yeah, they have old 70s theater lighting, which works. I mean, there's other than it interacts with some guitars and makes a bunch of noise. So I was having to play a guitar I didn't like, and I had to change my amp settings a ton. Mm-hmm. Which is actually, though, you were doing the right thing because this came up in something I was reading online, and it's you really should, as a guitar or bass player, the point of having those bass and treble and mid knobs is you do need to make adjustments for different rooms. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just part of the process. I mean, you sort of shouldn't be showing up and going, this is just exactly how I set my amp. You should probably keep your ears at least open. I mean, you don't need to reset it for every single room, but you should be keeping your ears open to be like, oh, this room's really boomy. I need a little less bass and I need a little more click and attack. But anyway, I think people were very happy. It was a record turnout for Cody, which only by a couple.
Yeah,
but
at that venue. Yeah, which is great because he's from Louisville, so this is basically a new market for him. So
yeah, he's from an hour and a half away at least.
I think 2 hours because we're an hour and a half.
Yeah, right, 2 hours away.
Yeah.
So yeah, to be able to draw that number of people. And I was telling Eric today, I was working with Eric on some vocals for his record, and you know, no one at those shows is coming to see us. They all enjoy us.
Oh, us band members.
The band members.
Yeah.
But it's not a situation where, like, a lot of bands, it's like, oh, well, everybody in the band is bringing 10 or 15 friends, and then you get, like, whatever.
This is not the case with Cody. It's all him.
People are coming to see Cody, and there just aren't many people who can draw. I bet he crossed 100, and for a solo guy to cross 100...
Not in your hometown.
Not even in your hometown.
Yeah.
Is pretty... There aren't that many dudes who can do that in Colorado.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah.
And the ones that can do better than that are doing... You know, those are the guys doing Red Rocks, and they're famous and stuff. So...
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's a pleasure to be involved with.
it was a real pleasure, and I thought Cody sounded
He was on.
stunning.
Yeah, he sounded so good.
Yeah, so good.
I did not sound quite as good. So at the country club gig that we did the night before, we had a lot of male vocal type songs. We had Dire Straits, we had Talking Heads, and so I was singing a lot of stuff in the low end of my range, which I love doing. It was just more bluesy, rocky stuff.
Yeah.
But it did not use my head voice hardly at all night. It really settled me down into my low range. And I had a tough time warming back up into the pop classical stuff that I need to do with Cody.
Right.
And the prayer was much harder than it's ever been for me.
Wow, that's interesting. I thought you sounded great.
Yeah, I modified a high note. I just didn't go for it in the first chorus. Yeah, because I was because it broke on me in the sound check.
Yeah.
It just wasn't there. So yeah, I need to warm up my head voice a little more.
I thought it was really interesting though. We talked about it. There was that interesting thing about the duo gig where you were singing. You described it as a 4 on a scale of 10, sort of. Maybe not volume wise, but like how hard are you singing? It was like a 4. You just kind of.
Pretty chill.
And it was interesting to me that I could really hear your technique in doing that.
I sounded so smooth.
It just really felt...
That's my home base.
Technical and practiced. I mean, it didn't sound technical. It sounded very smooth and natural, but your ability to, like, keep your pitches, even though you weren't singing that hard. Sometimes when people are on the quieter side, they have trouble intonating that.
Yeah,
and,
true, yeah.
you know, you just... It really showed off your technical kind of like, wow, you've really practiced just the mechanics of getting your voice to come out.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really obvious to me.
It was fun
after all this time. And then Saturday, so we had our gig with Cody. Friday night, drove home from the Springs. And then Saturday morning we had showcase practice for the big showcase that is coming up next weekend. And that was 30-ish songs. How much was that?
It's actually like 25 because the other it's 24 because it is exactly for you it's 23 because one of them's on a track. So 23 songs. You've got 5 more for pop choir. That's why the number's closer to 30.
Right.
Yeah, but it was 23 songs. One of them's one of mine. I'm singing in this showcase.
I thought rehearsal went great.
It went
kind
great.
of as it always does. Nate is such a
He's
great presence
oh my gosh.
and great band leader.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna edit that out, but he's great
because we know he listens.
Yeah. Just kidding. No, his sort of like welcoming vibe and stuff was so great for a lot of, because what's interesting about this showcase is it felt like, I could be wrong, but it felt like a lot more new people.
Yeah.
Or maybe not a lot more,
Yeah,
but more
a good
new
handful
people.
of, yeah.
Because
yeah.
sometimes the people doing showcases have done half a dozen with us, or they've done, so they know the drill, and it's no.
Right.
And of course, Daniel Mendez has done some, but
Yeah.
it seemed like there were quite a few new faces.
Yeah, for real.
And the young lady who did, she's Lily's friend.
Addie.
Addie.
Thal.
Yeah. Murdered it.
Oh my gosh. So many good singers.
For a 13-year-old.
And Tanner, who drove down from Steamboat Springs to rehearse one song with us. Oh my gosh.
I was actually shocked at how great his voice was.
Yeah, he's good.
And he's doing like a very metal, screamy sounding thing. And he didn't need to put a ton of effort into it to do it. It was really, I was like watching him the whole time. I was like, man, you are like.
Well, he works with you for AD. He works with me for clean vocals, and he works with Tyler for scream vocals.
Ah, okay.
So,
yeah, that makes sense because he was doing this really screamy stuff, but he was just sort of like, but it was like, but like he was just sort of like bopping around. Like, I was like, wow, that's, of course, he's a professional performer in another capacity too, so he's definitely got some chops there. Yeah, and
so we came home from showcase rehearsal, and I was like, okay, I can finally rest. I have an evening free. And literally, as I pulled into the driveway, I got this text from Aubrey of Diamond Empire Band, and she said, hey, can you do a gig tonight? I'm not sure my voice is going to hold up.
Right.
And I was like, no, I have plans. Because it wasn't that I was going to rest. It was that I had a holiday party to go to. I forgot about that.
Right,
I was going to rest in the afternoon.
For your Entrepreneurs Anonymous?
Yeah, Entrepreneurs Anonymous.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought about it, and I decided to do the gig. So we just, she sent me the set list, and I grabbed lyrics for the songs I didn't have lyrics for, just right off the internet. Boom, boom, boom. I spent about an hour and a half just loading my iPad. I wasn't even listening to songs. I was just like, I know I've heard this song in my lifetime. I know it by the title. I just need to grab the lyrics, put it on the iPad. I didn't even know which songs I was going to sing. Mm-hmm. She was going to try to sing as many as she could, but wanted me to be there as a backup in case her voice gave out, because she's been real sick, and she was taking some medications that were screwing with her voice. So it turned out Joe was on that gig too.
Joe Mondragon?
Yeah.
Joey Drags?
Joey Drags. Yep. So we had fun singing some 3-part harmonies together.
Oh, that's so great.
It's a pretty easy gig for me, honestly, because Aubrey hung in there really well, but she did say that she was able to hang in the whole night as well as she was because she gave me the hard songs. So I've always said, like, when you're a singer and your voice is compromised, you kind of have, it's like you have to, like in a car, you don't want to accelerate really hard. Like if you're trying to limp your way to the next rest stop with the gas you have, you just keep it steady and don't push hard on the accelerator. If you only have a limited amount of voice, you can burn up half of what's left if you do something really hard.
It really is interesting how that is. I've really started to notice that with singers. I feel like I've gotten so much better, even in the last 6 months, at reading, particularly singers. It's funny how you just always get better and learn stuff, but reading particularly singers, but sort of all musicians, as far as like we're basically done here.
Yeah, you can hear it come on, just the first hint of it, and you know you're almost
and
you're
it's
almost
just
done.
like let's just call it, or let's grab the few little things we need to grab that but like.
So it can go downhill.
Because you're going to go down. Yeah, it's coming. And I've told the story. I used to just blow singers up. I mean, I just used to just,
But now that you work for me, you don't do that anymore.
No, I really don't. And I've gotten just way better at seeing it coming and going like, okay, we need to get this tied up real fast because you're like, I can feel I can hear the fatigue.
Yeah.
And that's not good. Yeah, so
went over and did that wedding gig.
And that sounded like it was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a really nice place, the Manor House.
Okay.
It's like a mansion up on the hill, down like in the Ken Carl area.
I think I have been there with Hal, but
okay.
It sounds familiar anyway.
Yeah, really pretty.
Yeah, it's not so far away now that we're a little more on the west side and you can just jump over. Yeah, it was like 20,
25 minutes.
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
bad.
Great.
Oh, and bassist Tim Phelps, I believe. He used to do the Local 42 sessions.
Oh, the open
the
mics
open
that
mics
you
that I
used
used
to
to
go
go to.
to. Yeah.
He recognized me, and I didn't recognize him right away. And I was like, "Oh man, that's you! Such a good player." I just
that's
love
so
just standing
much
there
fun.
right in front of him, just like I was like my ears would just turn back the whole time. I'm like, "Oh, that thing you're doing, that's so sweet." It's inspiring too. It like, I'm listening to how he plays a simple song like Superstition,
Right.
And I'm like, "Oh man, I wouldn't have thought to do that. Wish I could just sit here and record." But it's good.
That's one thing I will never get tired of. I really legitimately enjoy other musicians. And
Yeah.
I love
It's like
hearing.
peeking into other people's brains.
It really is. That's part of it. Yeah, it's like, oh, that's how you see that, or
Right?
that's how you chose to deal with that. You
Yeah.
know, I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
Because and myself less fascinating because I know all the licks I know. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I rarely surprise myself. At least not in a good way.
So I got home from that.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was going to move on to Sunday. You
Yeah.
spent all day at the studio.
Yeah. I slept in. Had to delay our start because I slept in till 9. But yeah, I met Brianna, one of our younger teachers at Performance High, along with her boyfriend Presley. Really great kid. And we did a deep clean of all the Denver studios and all the Broomfield studios. Some of the studios needed more work than others. Studio 1 got a serious clean and reorganize.
It looked cleaner.
Yeah.
I couldn't find anything, but
I didn't move stuff around that much.
yeah. Well, I have my own weird.
I know. Yeah, I hope I tried not to screw you up.
Yeah, no, it was just a few things. Like I couldn't find the phone charger, or not. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all.
Okay. Anyway, I ended up having Presley cut off part of the rug there because that rug has that little like bump in it that will not straighten out, even though the thing is taped to the floor. It
kept scrunching.
Yeah,
and getting this big ridge in it.
Yeah, and it's just a trip hazard, and it looks
Yeah.
awful. So we just cut the damn thing off.
And it
Looks better.
looks way cleaner.
Yeah.
Looks great. Yeah. Yeah. It's I'm sure all the rooms really benefited from.
Yeah, some more than others. I mean, like Studio 6, we weren't exactly going to move all the gear out because most of the gear in that room doesn't belong to us. It belongs
It's one of the other
to the
bands.
two bands.
Yeah.
But, a little desk organization, dusting things that never get dusted.
Yeah.
At the Broomfield studio, I even dusted the baseboards. It's amazing how dust collects places.
Well, there's so many
pretty
people
nasty.
tracking in and out of
Yeah.
both of those places that, it's just going
Yeah.
to. Although, I mean, Denver is dusty. I remember
Yeah.
when I first moved out here and when I, because it was that cool thing. I don't think it exists anymore, but Guitar Center used to have this thing where at least if you made management of some type, it was sort of like you could always get hooked up with a job.
Oh, yeah.
So if you called any Guitar Center and were like, I need work, here's, they would make a place for you basically. And so it wasn't that long, it was maybe 4 months or something that I worked out here. I went back to Guitar Center and I could not believe the amount of dust that built it. Like Denver, out west.
On the gear in the store?
Yeah, I'm sure it's true of like Arizona and stuff. But out west, it's just drier and it's sandier and it's just like, and all over it, like every night I would be like, where did all this dust come from? Like,
Yeah. Welcome to the American Southwest.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Well, it probably felt great for you to get that done. And
It did. It felt really good, and they liked it too.
yeah.
Presley likes working with his hands, he told me, and Bria loves just nesting and like making things look nice.
She was in a songwriting class of mine years ago now, 5 years ago. I don't know. I don't know that she was even 18, but it's so interesting that she's now a performance high teacher.
Yeah.
But just a dynamite person with the positivity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really remarkable.
Yeah.
And what else?
Let's see. Oh, you landed another album. Did you land 2 albums or just 1 album? Like you have so much work coming in.
I have so much work coming in. Yeah, I did. So Ipecac is coming back into the studio. We talked about them Well, I just finished that EP for them. It feels like weeks ago, but it wasn't. It was, spring or something, and they've had a heck of a year. They had that Westward article written about them that was the headline was Ipecac is one of the best rock bands in Denver right now, which I was talking to their manager, and like they of course didn't write that headline, and it didn't necessarily like ingratiate them with a lot of other bands. So, but anyway, we're doing another album with them, and then I've got Jenna from Wyoming. I was talking with another client. They're actually wanting to get into the studio, and I'm not going to say names just because we don't know if it's going to happen, but they're wanting to get in the studio, right after we get back from Panama, maybe, because they're looking to put out a Christmas album next year, and they're actually being smart and not waiting until October to start the Christmas album. So yeah, just stuff is just rolling in right and left.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's been great. So
That's great. Yeah.
Lots of stuff, and it's fun for me because I'm working in as I like to. I'm working in lots of genres. I'm doing straight country. I'm gonna be doing hard rock with Ipecac, doing alternative rock with the Have Zen guys, and Jenna's stuff is real red dirt country, as I was saying, and I love getting different sounds, and it's always fun working in different genres and doing different things. So anyway, yeah, things going good. You had another crazy Monday. You like to have big crazy workday Mondays.
Yeah. Mondays are my brain days.
Yeah.
And my brain knew it. I woke up at 6 a.m. for the reason that I knew I was going to have a big productive brain work day. I mean, we are in the throes of rethinking the studio from the ground up.
Right.
As I've mentioned. Not that we're like throwing anything away that works, but we're recognizing who we are, redefining who we are, communicating better who we are, everything from, I've said it before, from core values on up to what we offer
right
in our studios. And so the work on that has been deep and ongoing, and today we pretty much wrapped it up.
Yeah.
So then I started putting together a slideshow to help me present all the ideas to the staff at the January 8th annual staff meeting, which I've never done a slideshow for a Performance High staff meeting before, but I feel like there is so much in my brain about all this stuff now that I need to limit myself to bullet points.
Yeah.
Or I am not going to keep this meeting to 2 hours. There's no chance. So I sat down for, I think I didn't get up for 4 or 5 hours straight. I missed a lesson too. Jacob texted me like 20 minutes into our lesson. He's like, hey, did I get the time wrong? I've been in your room for a while. And I'm like, oh man, I'm so sorry. But it's 39 pages right now. It's probably going to get a little longer before I'm done. But it communicates all this stuff that Kristen and I have been meeting and discussing in depth for hours.
Yeah.
And it crystallizes it all down, and it's so exciting. Like this really feels different. This feels like the biggest business growth push in the best and most organized and cohesive way that I've ever attempted.
Wow, so. And that's great. That's saying something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I told you, but I'm not gonna go to that meeting.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, we'll talk about it off the air.
It's required.
Yeah, I know. No. Just being mean to you.
So yeah, my brain's tired and I have more to do still.
Yeah, well, let's wrap it up. So, coming up next weekend, we've got one more showcase rehearsal, and we've got Cody at Soiled Dove here in Denver, another Christmas show.
Yeah.
And then the actual showcase is Sunday, so that'll be great. I haven't been in the Roxy on Broadway in forever.
Yeah, I haven't been to it
Is it still called the Roxy?
Yeah, well, it was previously Syntax.
That's what I'm
Syntax
thinking.
Physic Opera.
Yeah.
And
and
I
now
went
it's
there
the
a couple
Roxy.
times. Yeah, I haven't.
I mean, for like 5 years it's been the Roxy, but
Even that long?
I don't know. A while, yeah. And anyway, as always, we are sponsored by Performance High.
Voice and Music Studio.
And no one else. I'm not taking any more of this money. I don't know where to put it. The bank, I'm not welcome there anymore.
No one sent you money
No
this week.
sponsors.
No one sent you money this week, did they? Okay. I get to the truth of the matter.
Okay, thank you so much as always for watching. We have fun doing it, and we're very honored that you guys do watch, and we'll see you next week.
See ya. Thanks for spending your time with us.